Let's try to talk about some final details for the exam. When trying to define what is software-defined wide area network, remember that every time you see the term software-defined, you must think that the control plane is being removed from your hardware, from your network equipment, and it is moved into a centralized point. So for Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN, uh, theoretically, the control plane has been removed from your WAN edges and it has been placed in this device that we know as the controller, or formerly known as vSmart. That is the appropriate definition of SD-WAN. Also, if you think it uh, more in depth, you can realize that the WAN edges actually still have some control plane capabilities, because remember that they can still establish BGP adjacencies or OSPF adjacencies with other routers in the local area network. But for the exam, remember that software-defined wide area network happens when you decouple the control plane from your network devices and you centralize it. Remember that the underlay is all the network equipment and network connections and network protocols that you need in order to get all your wide area network together, and the overlay is what happens above that, is the tunnels that get created above that basic connectivity, the IPsec tunnels, the GRE tunnels, and all the settings that you will need to establish in order to make that work, such as the system IP, the site ID, and the color attributes, the TLOC, the organization names. All of that is what makes the overlay for the Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN solution. And I just want to mention that in the term fabric is usually referred when talking about the overlay, and this happens in many documents I have read. Remember that OMP is a protocol that is established between the controller and the WAN edges, and they will share routes. And what are the types of OMP routes? You will have three types: OMP routes, TLOC routes. This is TLOC routes here, and service routes. So you have these three types of routes that are getting advertised by the overlay management protocol. SD-WAN has a lot of security features. You might want to remember all of these for the exam. Remember that certificates are heavily used for connections between the managers and the controllers, between the controllers and validators, between the validators and managers, and between the WAN edges and your centralized devices. Remember that the overlay management protocols propagate encryption keys for IPsec, and that you have several security features for accessing the manager. You have the options of using role-based access control, radius, TACACS. You can have groups in order to manage your manager, and you can set up access control list. Remember all the security features that you can use with SD-WAN. You can use ASE, you can use Cisco Duo, you can use Cisco 1000 Eyes, you can enable enterprise application aware firewall on your WAN edges, and you can make them work as an IDS, an IPS for intrusion prevention and detection, DNS and web layer security, URL filtering, secure socket layer proxy, AMP, secure internet gateway. You can integrate this with Umbrella, with Zscaler, and so on. So make sure to remember that. The SD-WAN solution has Options for quality of service. You have 8 queues with the combination with queues and low latency queue. You have one low latency queue. Remember that the traffic for control and BFD, you will use the queue 0 for a low latency queue. You will use for congestion avoidance feature that is known as tail drop, but it is a really basic tail drop. You cannot use classes for tail drop. Tail drop will apply to Q0, and you have Qs 1 to 7 to play with also, besides Q0. And remember that the strategy for the queuing is a weighted round robin, and your traffic will use Q2 by default, your user traffic. Remember that BFD is a protocol that is heavily used in the SD-WAN solution. It will help you measure performance of the transport in order to measure such things such as latency, jitter, and packet loss. It will report the MTU. It will run inside IPsec. It is auto-invoked during IPsec tunnel establishment, and you cannot disable it. The documentation talks about BFD working with IPsec, so I have here the doubt whether it will work with GRE, because you can also use GRE, but the documentation establishes that it is BFD gets set up when IPsec start working. Remember that when packets enter one edge device, they will have to go through a process, and this process involves first running the local ingress policy, then centralized application aware routing, then centralized data policy, then the regular routing and forwarding process, then queuing and scheduling, and then the local ingress policy. So remember, local ingress policy, centralized application aware routing, centralized data policy, routing and forwarding, queuing and scheduling, and local ingress policy. That's it.